Welcome to NuPod, a new podcast series from early stage VC firm NuVentures. I'm your host, Vishal Krishna. This series will highlight the journey of NuVentures investments in companies that have gone on to become tech disruptors, and some have even turned into unicorns. NuVentures has been around for a decade, having backed the likes of MuSigma, Acko, Third Wave, Geist, Pocket Aces, and many more. And now NuVentures as a new avatar. To talk about it, we have the founder of NuVentures, and he's also the founder of IT company NuWare, Mr. Venk Krishnan, and he's going to be talking to me about this transformation and what you as startups can do with NuVentures and NuWare. Enjoy. Venk, it's great to be back. It's great to see you all back. There's a new thesis in NuVentures. We've both known each other for a while. We've been helping startups for a while, but this new journey really excites me. What is going on in NuVentures?
Okay, so let me go back to where we were when we, obviously I don't want to repeat the story how we started. I came back to India from US around 2000, 2002, but then I started investing in companies in India, and one of the first companies was MuSigma, which got me excited to get into this space. And then post that, with MuSigma came other startups. One thing we were very fortunate was to identify good founders.
Yes.
At the initial stage. And I think post MuSigma, we had Acko, for example, which is another early stage startup, which in fact, when we invested, I think it was just starting, Acko. Then we had Daily Ninja, which got acquired by Big Basket. We had others like Pocket Aces and many of that. And around 2015 is when 2016, after we spoke, is when we started refocusing on the startups in India. And one of the good startups we invested was Third Wave, which I think broke out in a big way. In fact, I remember very vividly when I went to Third Wave, maybe around the time we met, and I went there and I saw the crowd there and the passion and the energy of people there. I really felt that this is what we need, right? There are a lot of eco startups were sitting there discussing things, and I walked into the guy in the front and asked him, who is the founder of this? And he said something, Sushant as a person, but somehow we figured to get his number, and I felt that they were doing something unique with the Indian coffee, and they were trying to not go after Starbucks, but they had a philosophy that we could do much better than Starbucks, right? And today they have about 100 stores, maybe more, I don't know, as we speak. So that was another thing which gave me the confidence that we have the ability to identify good startups, which we have done. And the list of startups is, we have done. Recently we have done Raga.ai.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt because you have been sector agnostic. That is what you're hinting at, right? You're telling everybody that you also do D2C, but you're also a sector agnostic fund. So what you were talking about Raga, what are the companies that you
in the last 2-3 years, it was a slow time. We couldn't find good companies, right? And then the world was moving towards AI, especially in the last 2 years, right, or 3 years, I would say. Everybody is talking about AI and SaaS. And today you don't get funding if you don't have an AI with you. AI
is the buzzword.
You have
right?
To
catch on.
And I think AI is here to stay, right? But I still feel that we need to figure out how we can be differentiated from the advanced AI kind of companies in the US, and which we are doing. So. And AI is going to stay. I feel that more and more companies will come out in that space, right? So we are also focusing on that. Having said that, what we are trying to do more and more is to play to our strengths, right? So we thought about it along and said, what is our strength? Our strength is our relationships in the US, right? Because I was there for over 20 years, and I had built a company, or me and my team had built a company called NuWare, which was mostly started as a financial services, but then it branched out into other areas. So luckily for us, we have about 30 to 40 customers who are very, who depend on us to a large extent for their for some of their mission critical applications.
Obviously, and also work on new technologies.
Work in
And
new technologies.
That's where the startup thing comes in together.
Yeah.
Go on, sir.
So I saw that there is an opportunity to be differentiated in some way. Today, what is happening in India to a large extent is there is a FOMO effect. Fear of missing out is their big way, and people don't want to miss out on good startups. But but what is the value add other than money you can bring in? Today, startups have a lot of opportunities to get money if they have the right idea, right? There's a lot of dry powder, as they say. So our thought was we can be a seed stage, angel stage fund or an early stage fund, but we have to have some differentiation, right? What is the differentiation was to play to our strengths, which is having these customer relationships. So in the last at least 2-3 years, we have been looking for companies where we could help them, not just give them money, but also validate the idea, what they're trying to build.
To set context, if you have 30 to 40 customers, it means startups watching this must realize that they have access to 120 C-suite leaders. Right. That's what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Right, and these are decision makers. These are not somebody down. These are the CIOs, COOs of companies, right? And we are very transparent with them, saying we are also doing early stage investment, right? And we would like you to look at that. We could bring that value, not just value from what we can bring you companies which can create a differentiation in how we are doing things, right? We can disrupt what you are doing with these startups. So that is the model which more and more we believe has evolved for us, and that's the differentiation we can bring in. I'm not saying others are not doing it, but we feel that we can do it much better, and we are confident of taking any of these companies if we believe the idea is worth looking at or validating. We will take them.
There's no better person than you, because I want to call this out, right? You've not just been an investor, you've been a veteran IT services person,
right,
who's very close to the US market.
Yeah.
So I would very much want to call you an influencer in many ways because of this connection. Find startups, validate the product, enable product market fit,
right,
and then take them to the customer.
Yeah. No, see, because today, if you look at it, other than the D2C brands, which are dime a dozen in India, right, which are doing well, right, but no, the SaaS space, which everybody wants to pivot to, because that is where the next wave is. But now with AI, it's going to be SaaS and AI together. But what I found the challenge when I talk to founders is how do you approach this market, right? How do you go in front of a decision maker in US companies, right? And even though, I know that this is a challenge, because before with NuWare, I had founded a company called GovXL, which was in the software for governments way back in 2000, right? That was in the .com boom, and we got funding for that. And I realized even in that space, getting meetings with decision makers is very difficult. You can get meetings with people below the radar or below who are not the decision maker, because he has to take it to him. So we believe that taking your relationships in account and going and talking to them and looking at them to make certain critical decisions which will help them.
I would say you're getting them at a seat at the table, which is so difficult otherwise.
Absolutely. I believe that. So even though, even NuWare, we always believe in providing some value to the customer, right? We have always believed that IT services is dime a dozen companies, but how can you be a differentiator, right? So we are able to compete with some of the big IT services companies and win business.
I'd like to know the names of these startups, because you made some brilliant points. You take startups from here to companies in the US. You're very well connected to C-suite, but it's better to set the context with a few names.
Yeah.
What are those companies you've invested in? Because the theme is AI.
Yeah.
Right? You want to tell me about these startups, please?
Okay. So, I can start off with Dikshant, who is a 3-time founder, and whom I had invested before.
And you've known him for a while.
I have known him for a while, and I feel he's a very passionate about what he does. And that is one of the main criteria I use to look at startups.
Well, his company is called Segment or something.
Yeah, it's called Segment. But more than what we look for, is he's the guy passionate about the idea. He's going to stick with it. I found Dikshant was a guy who founded Segment. He's going to stick with the idea and he's going to go with it. So So we were able to take Segment to one of our marquee retail customers who were having challenges in sales. Their sales were down 25%, and they said, what are ways we can increase that, because that's a huge drop from sales. So when I talked to the CIO, I told him that there's this company which is doing a lot of work using AI, and I think they can make a difference in. So he said, yeah, I want to meet. Dikshant flew from here to the US, and we took him to the customer, and he was very impressed, and he said he wants to do a proof of concept of whatever it is. And it could be a paid proof of concept, so it was a very new thing. And I think one of the things he told me is, Venk, on a regular day, I get about 40 to 45 calls from Indian SaaS startups looking for
Business.
a chance,
Yeah.
right? And he says, I have no time. First of all, I have no way to, figure out if these guys are going to be able to do what I want. So I would prefer to do work with companies who will give me a warm
Reception. Yeah.
right, or a warm introduction, which we were able to.
That's very important, right?
That is very
which
important,
you did,
right?
And that
we
was
proved,
experience.
and that proved the model. There's another company called Mantis, founded by Kriti, who is in the ARR and revenue forecasting, right? So I was able to introduce her through my relationships in the US to the to a CFO of a huge conglomerate in India, and he spoke to her. He gave her a lot of ideas, right, at the end of, and said, if you can do all this, I may also be interested in investing, right? So there's a warm relationship again, right? And another company which comes to mind is Pivot Robotics, which we have done. Before that, I want to talk about Raga.
Go on, please. Yeah, you mentioned it earlier as well.
So Raga is another company which founded by, again, these were relationships. He called me and said, Venk, I'm going to start this company, IIT Kanpur. He did call me and said, I'm looking at making this investment. I like the guy. I like this passion. So I said, yeah, I would like to invest with you, whatever it is. And I introduced him to people whom I knew in the network. But my idea was always to see if I can help him, not just funding. I told him that, Gaurav, I'm not just going to invest, but I want the opportunity to take you to customers to validate the idea. So we'll put in money initially, but I want to validate. With Raga, I think we were able to take him to the top guy who is the main decision maker, and he called his head of data security as well as head of AI. They were separate to talk to them, right? And they gave them a lot of feedback, right, on what they are looking for. So that was another warm introduction. So he could validate his idea and say, which is where the market is going from a financial perspective, from a asset management kind of companies. What are they looking, right? So that kind of helped me validate that this is working well, right? If I can invest as well as take this as one of my responsibilities, to take them to customers and talk to them, right, and give them validation on the idea, give them feedback, it really helps. It helps both ways, right? And part of this, because you had relationships in the US, there is another company which came to me again through some relationships called Pivot Robots. Two Indian graduates from Carnegie Mellon University, top-notch guys from Carnegie, toppers in their field, and they came to me through some references, and I found that this is another company where we could help, because one of my co-founders, Karthik, he had a lot of relationships in Coimbatore in the manufacturing space, right? So we and what they were doing was pretty unique for manufacturing, and India giving a lot of focus to manufacturing. It was the right time. So we spoke to him, and I said we could help you, take you to some customers in Coimbatore area for manufacturing, and he was very happy to say do that. So everywhere we invest in our new avatar or whatever it is, we want to see if we can really take them to our customers or our relationships, right? Not just invest and say, come and give me your metrics. That's what I used to do too, and most venture capitalists
Thank you
will
for
do.
being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you've practically on and challenged that now. You're saying, I want to be
Absolutely.
different. I want to be responsible. I want to take these startups through their journey.
Absolutely, right? And what we venture capitalists, including me, used to do is, bring them on, ask them for their metrics. Where are you? What did you do? What is, without adding any value to what they are able to, what the problem they are finding. Most startup founders will have a challenge about how am I going to get customer traction, because that's so different from the retail and D2C space we are used to, because you have a direct validation from the customer, right? Whereas in an enterprise sale, which is much, much tougher, but much more, there's much
Lucrative
more
also.
lucrative and more monetizable, right? But it's a very tough sale, right?
Sales cycles are very long.
Very long. And we have to remember, in fact, I was talking to somebody else, what we are building is, things which the enterprise needs to use, right? Are we looking at their problem, right? Whereas in D2C and other spaces, it is, you're directly selling to the customer, you get validation quickly. So I felt that that is a value add which more VCs can do. And some of the big VCs are doing it, right? I'm sure, of that. But I think since India is, and especially Bangalore, there are so many VCs all looking for opportunities to invest. I think all of us, including me, should be looking at what is the value other than money you can add, not just give them advice, which we ourselves cannot follow.
Absolutely. So hearing is believing, guys. So I've got a couple of startups that I spoke to who can tell you what Venk did for them and what NuVentures did for them. Check that out.
I'm the founder of Mantis. We are an ARR reporting and forecasting tool for consumption-based companies. Essentially, we help companies get all their business data at one place, help them track their revenue metrics on a real-time basis, and simulate different what-if scenarios to plan, forecast, etc. for the future. So the idea is to help bridge the gap between the GTM teams and finance teams in any organization.
So Zigment, we are an AI-driven sales orchestration platform. So what we do is help enterprises and businesses automate their sales function, basically revenue function, where we take the certain parts of their laborious sales function and kind of automate through the AI. And the platform basically helps in kind of doing that. So ours is, again, we are focused on healthcare and financial services primarily. So insurance, banks, other, portfolio management companies. In healthcare, it could be primary healthcare or kind of healthcare, service providers. That's been the focus at this point in time for us.
We started Raga AI almost 2.5, 3 years back. I remember the early days. I met Venk at a coffee shop. I had just a few ideas, and our journey and my interactions with Venk started since then, actually. So he has been a early supporter for us. So big thanks for him. So since then, we have made tremendous progress. Raised a couple of rounds. We have marquee customers in US and India, some in Europe. A world-class team of 55 people, headquartered in US, part of the team there, and a team in Bangalore. Our primary offering is to ensure reliability of LLMs and Gen AI. And that is something which is the need of the hour for every enterprise, whoever is, because everyone is building LLMs. Yeah, so the journey has been very exciting, right from few slides, or I would say starting from few ideas. That's where I got to know Venk, to basically building the product, building the team, and where we are today. Yeah.
I got introduced to Venk through one of your portfolio companies. I worked with her in one of my previous companies. And we had multiple rounds of conversations. And I think throughout the conversations, what Venk also talked about is how he wants to make this arrangement slightly different as compared to other investments, which means that they would get all the network that they have into the picture. They would also help us on the tech side, product side. And being a solo founder, it really, I realized that getting some of this extra expertise from the outside would really help us get to the market faster, build the product faster. And that's when we decided to get into this together. So for us, US is a very important market. And as you know, like talking to enterprises or just getting connections with people there is extremely hard. So Venk did make a few connections. We've started talking to people. I'm also actually going to be in the US in the next 20 days for a month, and the idea is to meet a lot more companies that Venk already knows there. So it did help us at least get to the first step, and after that, of course, we'll work together to see what can be done to make that happen.
So Venk, I have known him for now over 15 years now. So Venk also happened to be the investor in my very first company that we started. And so yeah, I got a chance to kind of, work with him as an investor, and also he helped me that time to kind of, get into the US kind of introductions, etc. So yeah, so that's the kind of association that I've had with him. I guess we're in the early stage right now, but we have had pretty interesting conversations, with customers that were introduced by Venk and Venk's team. So they've been helpful right now. We have been in advanced conversation with one of them, and I'm pretty excited about how this will.
So I think it's extremely important for a startup, early stage startup specifically, to get right access, right? We are a B2B SaaS, and as you said, right, our primary market is US, and it's not easy to get access actually, right? And Vank and NuVentures has been extremely, I would say, humble, very helpful, right? In that regard, right? Very helpful, I would say. Just to give you a few examples, right? He has, I cannot name exactly, right? But he has put us in touch. We had a meeting in New York with one of the largest asset management company, C-level executives, right? Which for an early stage startup is next to impossible, right? And we are obviously heading to a very good path of converting them to a customer, right? So that's an amazing help that Venk and NuVentures have given. He has also started introducing us to many other potential customers in his network, right? So a big thanks again. This is not something which is possible without someone who wants to help us out. So it varies, right? Some VCs do, some don't. Every VC has their own strength, for example, I would say. And means see, one of the big thing is, right, getting access to US market, right? For a startup who's starting from India, right, or primarily based out of India, and even VCs in India don't have many US connects, to be upfront, right? And that's where I think NuWare and Venk has really helped us tremendously.
So I think when we decided to do this, we were about to release a new module or a feature which was extremely critical for us to test a few hypotheses in the market. So at that time, DJ worked very closely with us to first figure out the solutions that we can use in the market, evaluating them, working very closely with our VP of engineering on things that he had to figure out, and also helping us like hire a few freelancers. He worked actually very closely with us for a period of 2 months, coming on weekly calls, daily calls, helping us evaluate these solutions, talking to people late at night. So I think he was as much part of a team as like any other person. I think each investor would have something unique that they want to offer, and I think the where NuVentures comes in is, or when I spoke with Venk also in the beginning, the idea was to work closely together and build a company which is huge, which is big, but build it again together. So I think the difference is some investors would help you, but they would help you just from money perspective. Others will just help you from a GTM perspective. I think this is slightly more holistic because it's just wherever you need help, we will work alongside you, we will sit alongside you to get that done.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important for businesses to kind of get access to customers. I think in today's day, I guess product development or any kind of development that you build inside is a commodity to me. And what's the most important part of business is basically how are you reaching your customers. So I think in that sense, having worked with Venk earlier also and kind of now knowing their established base as a US, I think it's definitely helped kind of getting access to the customers in the US for us. I think from what I know, I guess we are a business focused, so B2B kind of a focused company, and for us, access to enterprises, which is kind of a large enterprises where there is a fair bit of politics, bureaucracy involved in terms of getting to know the right people. So I think that we have kind of, felt pretty, beneficial about, from Venk and Venk's team. I think fairly important because when at the early stage of product development and as a startup, like at the early stages of startup, we kind of have had some hypothesis about what the problem looking like, and we start building that product. I think a lot changes and kind of start taking shape when you actually start meeting customers. And in the large enterprises, there is no one single customer, right? There are like probably 10 different customers within a single enterprise. So how do you kind of launch your project or kind of you take your product into that enterprise, catering to all the different kind of heads of different departments. So I think that's been a learning for us and pretty interesting. So having access, established access, definitely helps.
See, unless we work with some marquee customers, right? We will not understand their challenges and their pain points, right? So working with them helps us build the right product, understand what the market exactly wants, right? And once we win one or couple of them, right, it also becomes a referenceable customer for us, because every large customer wants to know, hey, which other large customer you're working with, right? So getting that first few customers become extremely important from both regards of helping building the product and getting more customers. Validate the technology. So I think the biggest validation of a technology is customer adopting your technology, right? Or at least saying that, hey, this is the right direction we are thinking, right? And that we cannot get unless we talk to the customer and right and engage with them, right? So that's exactly what has been happening. Right, when we are engaging with customers on the East Coast, right, which NuVentures have been helping us out. That has been a big one. From the GTM perspective, I think it's a combination of basically how we engage with those, how do we reach out to the customers, and how do we engage with this customer. So another thing I will mention, which is very helpful, is in one of the meeting, a very senior person in the with the customer asked us, hey, so you don't know our systems, right, to us, right? And then Venk and his team said, hey, but we are working with Raga AI and we know all your systems, right? So that kind of is a big support, right? And a level of confidence and trust that the customer also sees.
Venk, I keep hearing about AI a lot. I keep reading about it a lot. But the GTM is something that's very important when it comes to startups. And I'm glad you made that connection that, look, you were a VC, you were an IT services founder. You managed to connect the two now, saying, look, I will take you through the journey. So it's the GTM that's very important. And I thought the technology is important, but you're saying, no, Vishal, it's GTM.
Yeah. No, I tend to disagree there because I see more and more Indian companies focusing on the technology, focusing on talking about SLMs and LLMs, right? Those are conduits to do something. What companies are looking for are business problems, right? Can AI help me solve those business problems, right? So I feel that founders will do a lot of service to themselves if they focus on understanding the domain, right? For example, if I say if somebody wants to get into asset management, they should know, how the organizations work. How are they increasing their assets under management, right? How can AI help in performance? Can AI help in the making the process more efficient, right? So it's very important for founders to think from a problem solving, not coming and saying I have this technology, I know this technology. That I think that a diamond doesn't people coming out of good schools and colleges who know the technology, but how many of them are able to solve a business problem using AI is what we should look at. So
Okay.
GTM should be the domain and the business, what business you're going after.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong again. You're right, GTM is so important. That means this game, the current game of technology, is for those who worked in the field of business for a while. That means you will back mature founders. That's what you're saying. People who know the market.
Yeah.
You mentioned financial services. How do you know asset allocation done efficiently, process innovation?
Right.
So that comes only with people who have experience, probably in the 30s.
I would think so.
You don't even want to back these guys?
In fact, there are a lot of students coming out of colleges who want to do startups, right? But I seldom unless the guy is like walking on water and he's somebody very good. But I feel without the knowledge of the business, right, you're just focusing on technology, right? If you go to a decision maker in any company you want, the guy is going to ask you not what you are doing with technology. He's going, how are you going to solve my problem, right? Maybe you can use AI to increase efficiency. I can do this much better than having, or I may not have so many people working on it. I may just do AI will do most of the stuff, right? So I more and more believe if you are going to go after enterprises, if you're going to sell to B2B customers, right, you have to have a good knowledge of your business. Technology, you can find people to do, right? If you know the business, it's more important. So my always my advice to founders is, do you know the business well, right? What you're looking
That's
at.
fundamental.
That is fundamental. But this is changing, right? Because today, Indian companies are going into a global market. The SaaS sales in India is almost negligible, right? Very little companies are selling to Indian enterprises,
Businesses, yes.
right? Because of various reasons. But everybody is looking at the Western markets, in particular the US.
The size.
The size and the maturity of the market, right? So even if you look at the early 2013, 14, the companies like, for example, so today what I find is more and more is that founders who have figured out the problem statement very clearly, right, in terms of this is what most customers have, right, in this space, like asset managers or banks, right? There are, what can I help them improve their business, right? AI is just an enabler, right? AI is not going to solve, you should use AI to solve those business.
Okay, I want to quickly bring this in, and you'll appreciate it because of NuWare, which is your IT services company, and NuVentures is the fund. And the companies that you handle, the customers in the US, are highly regulated. Healthcare and financial services is highly regulated, which is where you can put these startups up to speed, right?
Yeah.
How important is that?
No, I think there is a lot of education that has to go in. In fact, I try to insist on most of the founders we invest in to see you spend time in the US market. If you are selling in the US, go spend time there. Don't sit here and hope to sell by a call. It doesn't happen, maybe seldom, right? So it happens seldom, it has whatever it is. But the thing which I felt is that I tell even Dikshant, I tell him, if you're going to sell in the US market, go stay there. If you can move there, the person who is doing sales should be there. And that is the founders. In fact, most small companies, the founders are the sales guy, right? It is not you hire a bunch of sales guys because you have to sell with passion. And that can only come with the passion of the founder.
And the fact that, the fact that regulation, I'm saying you will allow them to go through all that, right? Because they're going to parry with you into the company, right?
Yeah.
Is that important?
No, it is. What we are trying to do is to educate them before we take them to one of our customers. We make sure they understand the domain, right?
Right.
Because guys in my company in particular have been working in this domain for some of them 15, 20 years. Right, so I take these founders and say, sit with them, understand the problem, and then you come and tell me I can use AI to solve this.
Fantastic. Now I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Everybody talks about it. Generative AI. Everyone's using it. I've written posts on it that low-end writing jobs are going away.
Yeah.
A lot of image creation work is going away thanks to generative AI. How real is it, and how startups can benefit by using it, and how can it benefit NuVentures also from an investment standpoint of view and from NuWare's standpoint of view?
No, I would like to take it the other way. What
Please.
I would say is AI is here to stay. AI is not going anywhere, right? People have, irrespective, there are a lot of people who question, will I lose my job? It is, if you don't be with the times, right? You need to understand how AI as an enabler can help you make businesses more efficient, right? So if that is what entrepreneurs are looking at, they need to understand the business. I keep repeating this. They need to understand the domain,
the processes,
and today I think AI and performance enhancement go together, right? Generative AI is something which is very useful for rewriting your emails, or getting pictures, all that is fine. But I don't know if that is really helping businesses, right? So I feel that people have to understand what generative AI can do. Right?
It's a long way away.
It is a long way away. And one more thing which I find about Indian startups to a large extent is they are not looking at the problem statement from a customer perspective. Right? If me as a founder, I'm working with a particular customer, do I know what their pain point is? Right? What is their pain which I can help solve? Then they will be listening. If you go and tell him, I can do this with LLM, this with that, they have dime dozen people. People are coming out of universities in the US, with the same skill set.
Yeah, especially Stanford and Harvard.
Yeah,
they come out
absolutely.
every
Not
day.
even just Stanford, even a smaller college in New Jersey teaches them the same thing, right? So how are we going to be different? Right?
So it's interesting. So you're saying to have the seat on the table is to know a few things. One is experience, know the processes, know how the business is changing, how technology can really enhance something faster and better.
Absolutely.
In that context, you have to deploy AI.
Yeah.
You just can't do LLM low level and just come and do
I
the
don't
top.
think so.
No.
Right. I don't think so. So, like if I look at one of the investments we did, Pivot, I don't know if Pivot,
Pivot Robotics.
Pivot Robot, what is he doing? He's saying that today there are a lot of robots which do many specific jobs, right? To create a cylinder or whatever, that specific jobs. So they create a hand to do that, right? But have you thought about how this hand can be doing multiple things? Not just one. Can I use the same thing to do 10, 15 things, right? Even the example somebody gave me was, the carpet cleaning robot, right? That goes around the room.
I've seen that.
Right?
I don't want to name them.
Yeah, but
they can sponsor my show later.
But even there, people are figuring out what else can they do, right? Not just the same job, right? Then you will be selling the same thing.
It's commodity.
Commodity, right? But can you enhance that and say, can I do more things with that? That is where you get the bang for the buck.
Absolutely, sir.
Right?
Well said.
So that is where I feel Indian startups which are looking in the SaaS space should work on. Go to the markets they are selling, whatever it is. If they're selling in Europe, go there. See if you can identify what are the pain areas for a particular customer. Because there are the same pain point other customers will have the same pain point.
Yeah.
Right? Who is doing this much effectively and much efficiently is going to win the race.
So once a happy customer, a lot of word of mouth and the network happens in the US, right? So this is great. You've set the context of saying, I'm a fund, or we are a fund, NuVentures, that will not just take you into your funding journey, but we take you through NuWare, which is our IT services company. We'll give you a seat on the table. And if you are mature enough to understand the GTM after that, magic can happen.
Magic can happen.
And
because
everyone's a winner.
The customers will refer you.
Yes.
Because you winning is in their best interest, right? They don't want somebody to just do his work. They want him to expand, right? Because they don't want to risk with a company which will only have them as a customer.
Okay.
Right? So I think that is where the model is shifting to more and more. And I see a lot of VCs in the US already doing it. I'm not sure how many are doing it in India, right? Because at least from our perspective, we are fortunate we have customers, right? We don't have any Indian customers. We only have US customers, right? So, and those customers like what we have done. So they are willing to listen to us, right? Like yesterday, one of my founders said, in fixed income in one of the customers, they are having this problem, right? So we immediately thought maybe we should introduce one of the company startups, right? So we are trying to get a meeting with them, and at least we are educating the founders, saying this is their pain point. Can you solve them?
It also means you can pivot quickly.
Absolutely,
right? Which is so interesting, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the
validation of your.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, validation of a concept is the most critical thing, right? Which we were fortunate enough in the past, because we are dealing with consumer kind of companies. Their validation is much easier because consumers are either buying or not. You know that, right? Whereas today you are dealing with customers whom you don't know what their pain point is. Right?
It may be happening few months down the line, a few years down the line.
Or you're a visionary to think, this is going to be the problem. Maybe go and talk to the customer.
So you're talking transformation.
Absolutely.
You're not talking box office. Box office is the consumer, right?
You're
right. Transformation is what you want.
Yeah, that is where you will you will shine yourself as compared to the others in the market.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Venk, you've also done something that nobody, that's being Venk, right? Doing Venk things. For example, you not just enjoy investing in tech, but you've also deployed your money in D2C, which is a box office business,
Yeah, right, right,
Why,
right.
why Venk?
No, but I think if you are in India, we need to go with the times.
Yes, got
And I think even in D2C, there are so many niche ideas which are still not looked on, right? Or a founder has a different way of looking at the market. Like we invested recently in Adukule.
Yeah, very good brand.
Yeah.
It's a Sanketi
Yeah.
cuisine or something.
Yeah,
of that sort.
Adukule is, I find that they could be the next MTR,
Yeah.
but in a younger kind of
Youthful presentation. I've seen their stores,
right?
very youthful.
I was very impressed. I saw when I was in US a couple of weeks back, I went to an Indian store which sell Indian products. I saw full of Adukule, right? And I asked one or just to, he said, this is one of the best food because for them, time is of the essence. So they can take the brand, they can go put it in the microwave, they can go, right?
You know, it's true. They're a 1,000-year-old cuisine.
Yeah.
And
right?
which is now in packaged form. Yeah.
Right? So, because in US, more than anything, people don't have time, right? Especially people working in the software, they get up in the morning, they have to run to the train, all that kind of stuff, right? So, I found that Adukule, so as soon as I came back, I heard somebody was looking at Adukule investment, we invested, right? And he's a young founder, good ideas.
Yeah, Bharat's well known to me. Yeah, good
so
founder.
Adukule is another. The other company we invested was Foxtail, which is doing very well now. Because again, it was when I met the founder first time, I saw her passion, right, to build something in the skincare, and she had a good background. She was looking at the space differently, right, and kind of we were. I was thrilled to see that she could validate our confidence, right, and she has got three rounds of funding already since we have invested, right. So, and I think so we will still continue to invest in D2C or retail if we find that the founder has a different way of doing it.
I can see that passion, the way you backed Third Wave. You just said you walked into a coffee shop and asked the person serving you coffee, can I have the number of the founder? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the way you want to take bets with these D2C companies in
absolutely.
in India?
In India, I would see if they are doing anything different, right? Is there some different way of approaching the market, which I found with Foxtail.
Yes.
And I found that she was looking at the market differently and figuring out how to build a niche in some area and then go after that. She was initially looking only at Bombay, Mumbai and other. Now she's branched out, right? So I think we will continue to do that. And when I invest in D2C, it is all dependent on the founder.
Absolutely. It's
right?
a game that nobody understands. The CACs are very high, the customer acquisition costs. But it's a very interesting time in India that the consumer story is here to stay.
Absolutely. Consumer story is here to stay, and people using AI in the right way to sell, right? Can you reduce your advertising cost using AI?
Absolutely.
Right.
And you invest in a company similar, right, where it connects influencers for these brands.
Yeah, we have an investment in a company called Influencer Garage, which is mainly they are trying to do how influencers how they can rate these influencers.
Yeah, right? because brands go work with influencers and they complain saying
nothing is happening.
Nothing's happening.
Right.
CAC's too high.
Yeah. So we are trying to work on that, and that is still in its initial phase. But we are doing the same thing. Even we are trying to see how we can help them, right? It's not that we know everything. So we try to go and talk to others, right? Who are, like, we were able to put Influencer Garage with Foxtail, which is one of our portfolio companies, and ask her to validate.
So it's inter-portfolio connects as well. Why not?
Right? And today, I recently remember Adukule. I said, why don't you talk to Dikshant and see if you can use
his platform.
See his platform. Zigment. Right? So we are continuing to do that.
All right. Venk, okay, we've discussed investing. I want to talk about global events trends. We've definitely talked AI. Because you've tracked startups for the last 2.5 decades, what's changing? Can you give us a quick thought process on what the founder should accept when they come to GTM or selling? What are some of the trends that they should keep in mind?
No, obviously, without doubt, AI is here to stay. But in fact, somebody else asked me the question: will AI take my job away? Right? It is going to take if you don't be, try to branch out into areas where AI can be where you can help AI, right? So I think AI is going to be a trend. Are people able to solve real business problems? I keep repeating that because seldom I find that, people are only talking about technology, right? Either it's LLM or an SLM or, knowledge graphs, right? I keep hearing these tech terms, but I seldom hear people talking about real business problems which they have to, right? If you're going to sell to an enterprise, they have to have value. They're not going to pay you a dime if they don't see value, right? You can come, then you're not adding any value to them. They're not going to.
So that's bottom line. So
Bottom line is
regardless of the trend, you got to add value to
Absolutely.
their business.
Business.
That's it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So that is, I think that is the headline kind of thing which I would say. But more than anything, I would say that, even in the D2C space in India, I think there are a lot of efficiencies companies can build in, right? And with AI, they can build those efficiencies.
Experience.
Right. And, use AI as an enabler. How can I increase, reduce my customer acquisition costs?
You spoke about that.
Yeah,
yes.
right. So if you go through the traditional route of selling, it is going to be, pretty soon it's going to be not going to help.
Okay.
So these are a couple of things which I keep repeating to founders, and I always tell founders, be where your customers are, right? You cannot sit in India and try to sell to somebody in California, right? Because there are people there who are selling, right? People like that, relationship, chemistry and all that. So if you really want to grow your company, you need to have your main sales guy or the main founder at the early stage be there.
At what stage? I mean, do they do the first 3 to 5 to 10 million on their own? The founder should do it on their own?
I would say 5 to 10 million, right? Okay. Or at least have 10 customers, right? Whom you can have referentiable customers.
So 10 long-term contracts.
Absolutely, right? Even if it is small value, but you can name them, right? That's very important, right? Because you have to understand that you're competing with a global market. There are people coming out of US colleges, US universities, there are who are equally or better than you, right? So here in India, what we tend to do is, if somebody is from IIT, we think he's the best, he's done this, but does he know the domain well, right? He can talk technology, but can he also back it up with some solving business problems?
Customer
right?
problems.
So I think our Indian entrepreneurs should focus more and more on that. There are a lot of problems in India too, right? Which I think entrepreneurs can look at. There are people who are looking at agriculture, using AI to help with agriculture. AI to figure out when to do
water the plants,
all that, right? Or having the drones go and put. So all that is good, but how much can you monetize with that, right? Are your agriculture or a farmer is willing to use you, right? Which is very difficult to sell, right? You're going to somebody who doesn't have any.
So who pays for it?
Who pays for it, right? If you give it to them free, they'll take it, right? But for him, at the end of the day, it's all about making a margin, right? So it is going to be a challenge, but there are a lot of India-centric problems.
So know your market, you're saying.
Know your market. If you're working in India, know the problems. If you're going in US, know their problems.
Got it.
Right? Don't be sitting here and say, I'll solve this problem there. You can't.
That's superb. I mean, these are trends. I'm glad you're one of the few people who's told me that, look, trends will be there, but if you don't know what value you're adding with that trend, it really doesn't matter.
Right. And I also tell Indian founders, don't talk about technology. Don't keep going and saying, I know how to write this code. I know Python. I know LLMs. Everybody knows that.
So they might as well hire you there.
Yeah, they may as well hire you as a programmer, right? Rather than give you a business.
Okay. VCs. So many VCs. And I thought India's really done well last 10 years. But you're also saying that's worked against us a little bit. But there's going to be a good correction, but there's going to be some rationality, right? Yeah. What is your thought process on this?
Yeah, I think we have too many VCs, right? Who are not providing the value they're supposed to provide.
Again, coming back to value.
Value,
yes,
right? What is it beyond money, right? Obviously, the branded VCs out there, they have figured it out because they have been doing this for years and years, right? But there are a lot of young VCs who are coming in the market, right? Who do not have, they are not operators for first thing. They are just using bookish knowledge to decide on where to invest, right? Have they looked at the market? Have they gone and sold themselves, right? That is very important, right? Uh,
So while you welcome the number, you're saying
no,
it's
they have
still
to add more value,
Yes,
right? Not just money.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think I see a lot of, VCs giving
Advice.
advice and because they don't have to do it, right? Many of them, some of them do, right? Some of the advice I see are good, but some of the advice I laugh at it because it's very easy to give all these quotes and what you read in books,
Yeah.
right? But how do you do it is very important.
That I'm glad you're pointing that out, because founders watching this, they should realize that you've said this to me in 16 as well. Go work with people who've done it.
Yeah.
That's the only way
Yeah.
that you can show success for yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be stuck.
No, what is happening, and I may be called out for this, but what I find today is there are a lot of business families. With the younger generation, those business families don't want to do the traditional business, right? There may be somebody who made ink, I know, or somebody who made something traditional, right?
Clothing.
Maybe,
Some
clothing,
yeah.
right? Whatever. But the children who come out of good colleges in the US, many of them go to Stanford, many of them there. As soon as they come out, they want to become a VC, right? Because they have money, right? They feel we can invest. Maybe out of 10 investments, two will be a blockbuster, right? And I'll make a lot of money.
So you're saying the power law equation, they think like that. Oh, make 10 and then let's see if 2 work out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And I'm not against youngsters getting into this field, but get some experience, right?
Well said.
Before you get into this field, right? I say this to my own children. If you want to get into something, you should go from the bottom, right? You should know the intricacies of the business, right? If somebody comes into my business and just because he's my child or whatever it is, it's not going to work.
I'm glad you said that. You remember, you were telling me that when you were younger and selling this IT services, you started like that, didn't you?
Absolutely.
It was not easy.
No, it is not easy because I am selling into a company and we made a conscious decision that we will only go after customers who will be our direct customers. There are a lot of companies who will do subcontracting.
Yes.
We said we won't do that, right? We will only go and talk to decision makers who will value us. Because if I'm not talking to the guy then and he knows what we are doing and he's seeing value, I will never know, right? It is somebody else who is going to take credit. So I believe that more and more, VCs, I see a lot of VCs who want to do podcasts. I know what I'm saying, which is a fact out there.
Yeah.
And they want to say we should do this, because it's all gyan.
So you're saying don't advise.
Don't advise if you don't have the background.
Yeah, well said.
If you have the background, advice. I wouldn't say this to somebody, an Axel or a Bloom or some of these people who have been there, done that.
That's your modesty, and it's very nice. I like hearing that. You're saying that you will only advise startups when you know what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you don't want to go ahead and do things.
Right. And there are a lot of pioneers in the Indian VC industry who have done great work.
Yeah.
For example, Vani Kola or a Prashant or a Subrato. These are guys who have really done it and then going and saying, this is how you should do it. Or like a Shekhar Kirani. He has proved it, right? In fact, he's one of the few guys who have really got an exit, him and Subrato and all that. So all I'm trying to say is, there are good VCs in India, I'm not saying. But there are a lot of VCs who don't have the wherewithal to give advice.
So startups, watch out. That's good. Right. Our Indian startups, I would say they're as innovative as American startups. But you always told me that there's too much of presentation here as well, rather than the real stuff.
Yeah, and I think there is going to be a correction. According to me, there is going to be in the next 2 years, you will see who are the real VCs out there, right? Because
and
they
the
have
startups, of course.
And the startups, of course. But they have to raise money. When they go to their LPs, right, they are going to question what is it. Okay, you can maybe once or twice you can try to go into the thing. These valuations are very virtual. You haven't really, I can say one is an unicorn, but unless you get money out of it, it's not a unicorn. And I know that there are a lot of unicorns which are unicorns in 2021, right, which are no longer a unicorn, right? They're losing money. They're not making money. I can't name them, but everything is out there.
Yeah, that's a tough decision for a VC to make or a startup to make, I would advise those watching this that look, if you're a young startup and definitely want the journey from investment to customer, then NuVentures is the place to be.
I would say
because of
NuVentures
the
is one of the
foundation.
places, but you
Yes.
can look at others who are doing that same value.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Is there a VC? Go to a VC. They like your idea. I think the startup founder should have the courage and passion to ask them, can you help me bring me in front of customers? Right?
I think they should have the courage.
They
I
should
agree
have,
with you.
right? Because what many people do is if I get the money, at least I can go further.
So you're basically right. Don't just take the money. Ask where are you going to take me with this
Absolutely.
money. That's got it.
That
That's
is-
fundamental. And unfortunately, we're running out of time. And I have to ask you stuff which are lighthearted also. And I want to know, I don't know this, so I'm asking you, what do you get inspired by? Although I've known you for so long, I haven't asked you this question. What do you get inspired by? Is it art or movies or family?
No, obviously, family is a big piece in my life. But more importantly, I love my dogs, right? I have a small Shih Tzu. I miss him a lot, right? I'm very close to him. And I think one thing you can learn from these animals or dogs is they are always in the present, right? They are not worried about what will happen to me tomorrow. They're only saying, why will I get my food?
Is that an advice to people like us that as humans, we got to stay in the present and
Absolutely,
focus?
right? We all have to learn to be staying in the present, which is very difficult for a human being because we are always distracted.
We're all over the place.
We're all over the place, right? But if you look at dogs or any of these animals,
The unconditional love.
unconditional
They're there.
love, and they're always today,
Yeah.
right? They don't care about what will happen to me tomorrow. They're saying today, right? So I am a big lover of dogs. I have 3 dogs, whom I love. I have 2 golden retrievers and a Shih Tzu. So I enjoy that.
Do you get time to read?
I do read. I don't want to claim that I'm an avid reader. I do read a little, but not too much. I watch movies. a
OTT
lot.
mostly.
Yeah, and also in books, I was starting to read. I'm forgetting the name. *Sapiens*, for example.
*Sapiens* is a very good book.
Yeah, and
Very good
how
book.
he talks about how our brains have evolved over time. How we have learned things over a period, right? And it's a great book. So I would recommend.
No,
that.
Venk, this is a fascinating conversation. I really wish NuVentures all the best in its new journey. It's with AI and also a little bit of D2C to talk
Yeah,
the cherry.
absolutely.
Right? That is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I think one thing I have been very fortunate throughout my career, including is to find good people to work with me, right? So even the people who work with me are very passionate about success, right? So I think I don't want to take all the credit. It is the people who are working with me. We don't have like too many partners and whatever it is, but we tend to see if the people who work have the same passion which I seem to have on a particular to do the investment.
All the best to you, Venk.
Thank you.
Thank you.